All right. Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to Torn Tuesday, your weekly dose of all things Lord of the Rings in all mediums.
In all things, here we are talking about hobbits, wizards, dragons, and a lot of first age orcs. I think that we're going to be delineating the difference between the orcs that we once knew and the orcs that we're about to meet in the upcoming Amazon Prime series, Rings of Power. But there's so much news, much gossip to talk about.
So much going on.
A lot of news, yes. Where should we begin tonight? I think.
Well, we're gonna begin right now. I have to take these
list.
awesome Lord of the Rings glasses off because they are polarized, and I can't read the screen. It is filtered out my screen. Have you seen these, Cliff? Here, put these on. Try to read that screen because
it just ones that make the little lines and
they're official colors. Lord of the Rings glasses.
Oh gosh, wow!
It polarizes the screen, right?
Yeah, it does. I can't see anything. Yeah. This is what it's like when I'm on Star Tours and I have to wear the 3D glasses over my regular spectacles.
It's great for great for the sunshine.
It's crazy.
It's great for San Diego weather. And you know what? I told you guys that we were going to give away a pair of these. Well, I've got two pairs now.
Wow.
Plus the one I'm keeping. And
we do have these excellent Lord of the Rings sunglasses for real now. And you know what? Not to neglect what we promised last week, but someone is going to be a lucky winner today. Thank you for joining us on Torn Tuesday. Welcome again, everybody. This is theonering.net.
That's Cliff.
And that's Justin right there.
That's right.
And welcome to the shenanigans on our Tuesday show right here on theonering.net. Wait a minute. We're on Discord. We're on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram. Live, we're all over the place.
We're all over the place.
We're on Facebook as well.
And here's the thing. So I figured out what happened last week. I told you guys to text me some positive vibes. Well, let's do that again because the messages that didn't come through. What happened was Google Voice changed their platform. It does not forward text to me anymore. Or Cliff, remember when we used to get texts all the time, you and I?
Yes, the hotline number was for Frodo. Remember? What's the area code again? 536-74.
Hold on.
Wait a minute. Really?
Let me see if I can. There it is. All right.
There it is. Our hotline has always been and still remains area
for
code.
Frodo.
Area code 5. Am I reading this wrong?
530-64 Frodo.
That's right. Area code 530.
So it works now. I had to install the Google Voice app. Cliff, I've got it set up to your phone as well.
Oh, excellent.
If you download one of these days, the Google Voice app. So if you text that number or you call that number, but I want you to text me, I should get the text messages now.
Okay, that's super cool.
So if someone wants to text the number, let's make sure it works this time.
So first day of summer, here we are in my summer attire. I suddenly felt like Merlin.
There it is. The first text message has come and says, "You beautiful bat." Oh, I can't see that.
I didn't see.
Let me get those glasses, and I'll wear them to SDCC.
Maybe you've got that message. San Diego Comic-Con is coming up.
We're going to talk about that because huge news. There's so much. We're getting so many text messages. Free Morgoth.
That's funny.
Scooby-Doo?
Very funny.
Where are you?
They're not being replicated here, but as soon as I download that, I'll be able to get them here.
It doesn't send it to text anymore. It sends it to, you have to have the Google Voice app.
Oh, okay.
And then it sends it as a Google Voice message.
There's
Tukish, Garf. Oh, we're going to see some of the, I've got so much to tell you about Comic-Con.
We have a lot of coverage to talk about the upcoming convention.
Pipsky, thank you for texting.
And there is everyone on the live chat. Hello, Otaku Senpai, and hello, Matt
Steven, Laswin,
Tegan,
Dr. Nosy. Everyone from our Discord is in here. So there's a bunch of comments about giving away the T-shirt. I cannot give away this T-shirt. You know this is not legit.
No.
This is not legit.
We'll get to the giveaways later on.
This is a personal shirt that that only exists in one. I did not get it off Etsy or anything else. This is not online. It's nowhere. It's not official.
It's a one of a
kind. Nothing.
It's a one of a kind.
I was just playing around with my printer.
A prototype, so to speak.
No, not even a prototype. We're not making anything
not
like
even
this.
That. No, I'm joking.
No,
I'm joking.
I was just playing around with my printer one day, and I did not have the courage.
Hello, Garfemo.
I brought it with me to the London trip, but I did not have the courage to wear it
hilarious if you
in front of the license owners.
That would have been hilarious if you did.
Yeah, I didn't want to get in too much trouble.
Well,
so
you want to get onto the hotline, folks, and send to Justin's phone any uplifting, like really positive vibe messages about what you're enthusiastic about, what you're encouraged about.
He's
going to pick the best one, right?
Yeah, we're going to read some at the end of the show.
Okay, yeah.
Because there's been so much news in the last 7 days that you guys have to be more hype than you were 7 days ago. With all the stuff that has just come out in the last 7 days, in the last 48 hours.
In the last 24 hours, there's been so much.
I want to know.
Yes, I was going to say.
What you saw in the last week has made you more excited for the Rings of Power.
Indeed.
So that's the assignment. That's the phone number. You have the whole show to text. And if you're watching this on YouTube afterwards, you can text us day or night because I love getting positive vibes. But for the purposes of this giveaway, we're going to give away a pair of official Lord of the Rings sunglasses to whatever Cliff and I decide.
I think it's delicious.
So
I think it's really a fun contest.
I want some positive vibes. Positive vibes.
Good times. And we've got news that has come around the world and back. All the other YouTubers have already made YouTube videos about it. And here we are on our next Tuesday show talking about what just was revealed by the Amazon Prime marketing team. We're also going to talk about what was revealed on IGN. All those nasty orcs.
Yes.
And they don't taste very nice, do they, Precious?
No. Well,
they don't.
Let's start with the latest
we have
news.
So much news. Where to start? Let's begin.
So I'm playing around with some new buttons, folks. So check this out. If I hit this, I can turn on the chat. I can turn on the lower third. Look at that. And apologies to my co-host.
And there I go.
He is now the Rings of Power newscaster thing because I don't have a cameraman to change the cameras. So
that's kind of cool.
Let's talk about Rings of Power. No,
okay.
Let's talk about Comic-Con. Cliff, let's talk about Rings of Power. Let's talk about Comic-Con.
I cannot wait for Comic-Con. That's going to be so cool.
Talk about Rings of Power.
Wait, at Comic-Con. Let's talk about the Rings of Power.
Well, Cliff,
making an appearance.
I am happy to report this is breaking news.
At Comic-Con.
I haven't told you in the last hour, the OneRing.net got the first official badge.
Oh, I saw that.
From San Diego Comic-Con.
Isn't that lovely?
The badges have shipped, and look what appeared in the mail today. That is Josh Long. That is our collectibles reporter. Of course, I didn't bring mine because it is kept safe in my mailbox because so cool. I didn't check the mail. So we officially have the first official San Diego Comic-Con official badge. This is it. It's in our hands. This is the OneRing.net. This is exclusive to the show.
It's beautiful. And
200,000 of these are going to be around people's necks.
The mystery of that sword and the fan theories, the continuing circulation of many good fan theories about that sword, where it came from and what it's all about, will continue to be the fuel for the fire.
Cliff, do you think there's anything to read into this image about the fading or the bottom of that sword? Is it a Morgul blade?
No, there were no ring wraiths, and there was no Morgul at the time.
Okay. Well, this is the first time we ever saw this sword.
And that very early character poster image that they released.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's the first time we saw it. Again, Amazon released this poster with no context. They didn't tell us whose hand that was, what sword that is, or anything like that. So what is it? We only found out later, like 3 months later, that this character, Theo, we don't know how to pronounce it, is the holder of that sword as far as we know.
Causing even more speculation as to how on earth could a blade like that have fallen into his hands. Why and what for?
Right. So that's all we know about the sword. But Cliff, let me ask you this. Is it significant that Comic-Con that Amazon is putting this on 200,000 badges at Comic-Con.
Yeah, because it was easier. It was easier to put this kind of mysterious sword image than to have to deal with.
But does it not mysterious? Do you think it's valuable to important to the story?
No, I don't really think it was a decision in marketing because of its importance to the story. I really honestly think it was an easier marketing choice than to say having a depiction of any of the characters that have been circulating.
Really?
Yeah. Why? Because I think they want to go for the enigma, go for the mystery of it. And it is a little bit more neutral in terms of not, attracting unwanted commentary. So maybe that Varking is telling us it's a proto-sword before swords were swords. That's interesting. No, actually, I think it's just I think it's an informed choice to go for the mystery. A lot of their marketing.
Why would they put that on all the badges at Comic-Con if it wasn't significant?
A lot of their marketing has been around the mystery, around these things that they're getting us little glimpses of, but not real context about. They're as guilty of that as anybody. Don't you think? Like, the marketing campaign so far has been entirely structured around, we're going to tantalize you with the mystery of an empty map. And then we're going to tantalize you with a picture of someone holding a blade at their waist and someone else holding a scroll at their waist. It's just mystery. So why not just show a Comic-Con badge, which isn't too revealing? It's just enough to cause speculation.
Well, I think
That's what I think.
I think that badge, that Comic-Con badge, is hugely important and is going to be a collector's item by the time we get to the last season. I think it's going to be so important that everybody keeps their badge and say, I was there when this important sword was carefully leaked out. The chat room says, Smeagol thinks the sword looks tasty. That's an interesting. That's just, Dr. Nosey said, almost spit that sword out of the ocean because it's cursed.
The spirit of the waters.
Curse.
The great Valar Ulmo. Spit that sword out of the waters, out of the ocean itself.
I don't think Galadriel does not retrieve that sword. It's Theo's sword as far as we know.
Well, we don't know if it's an invented piece of their own mythology that they're making up.
That's right.
Or if it's an actual J.R.R. Tolkien sword that is mentioned from the book or any of the books that they may have licensed. You know what? I've been hearing some rumors that most of Season 1 is also built around mystery, and that a lot of things are just set up, and that more explicit wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, things are going to happen in Season 2, Season 3, while I'm imagining that Season 1 is just a lot of setup and proposing. What if they just propose, 2 or 3 different characters that might be Anatar? And it's a mystery to us, and we still do not know who Sauron is by the end of Season 1. That's what I'm thinking.
Here's my only comment on what you just said.
Everyone's been saying this.
Here's my only comment on what you just said. These guys, these showrunners, these producers, all came from Bad Robot. They worked for J.J. Abrams. And we all know how mystery boxes end up. We all know how mystery boxes on television end up going. I hope that's not the case. Moving on, Cliff. That is the Comic-Con badge that you just saw. We have it in our hands. Comic-Con is real. The other big news this week is Amazon officially announced that The Lord of the Rings of Power will be in Hall H. This is Amazon's very first time ever being in Hall H. They didn't do it for Carnival Row. They didn't do it for The Boys. They didn't do it for Miss Maisel. They didn't do it for anything else. Hall H, Amazon's debut at Hall H is with Rings of Power. What day is it? We don't know. Only Comic-Con will tell you what the schedule is. We don't know if it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't know. We don't know. All they've said is they're coming to Comic-Con.
And that means standing out in line in front of Hall H for untold hours.
Untold hours.
Camping out overnight for untold days and missing out on all the other installations at Comic-Con.
And so before we move on, I want to give you guys a little hint. We're not ready to announce all of what we are doing, the One Ring, at Comic-Con, but I can tell you this. we have some really, really exciting special guests that are going to be on our panels and other things that the One Ring is doing.
Indeed.
The One Ring. Some of those special guests are in the chat room with you right now. You will get to see them and meet them in person. Some of them you will recognize from many of our shows and streams and maybe some of your favorite channels and from around the world. And I'm probably saying, you know what? I'm not going to tell you anything else other than keep Friday open. And we're still working out the details. You may not need a badge. You may not need a badge for what we're working on, what we're cooking up. But keep Friday open and get your cosplays ready. And, you know, as on this show, I told you that I wanted to see some positive vibes from Rings of Power. I do want to see Rings of Power cosplay at Comic-Con. You've seen all those posters. You've seen the trailers. I want to see some cosplay. I know Amazon's been really late in releasing a bunch of this stuff, and there's no time to create new costumes. But if you have time and you have energy, I want to see something represented. So I'm not going to say anything more about Comic-Con other than the One Ring will be there. Independent of all other studios, the One Ring will be there with our own panel.
Two panels.
Our own messages and our own special guests that you won't want to miss.
Not just one panel.
We don't know yet. Maybe. And
I'm
so
hearing that we might have more. Well, I don't know.
We're not.
Maybe. I'm hearing
the
rumors.
Comic-Con logo keeps talking out of turn. So keep Friday open. That's all I'm saying. You may not need a badge. So if you live into the Southern California area, I'm just saying. All right. Moving on.
There's also delightful rumors going on that we can't even talk about. But when we get closer to them, the timing is right, we'll be able to share some of those fun details with you.
You know, I was looking up some old, we were talking about, we're going to talk about all the new orc pictures, but I was looking up some old photos. When did we first see orcs with Peter Jackson's films? And I found this old poster. I have the original high-res 4K TIFF file. You'll notice that is the official Fellowship of the Ring poster without any text on it.
This is unique. I've never seen
this
before.
Any text on it. Let me see if I can go full screen on this. I don't think anyone's seen this. I don't know why I have it, but I have it. Without the text on it, I was not aware that the Ringverse is photoshopped over Frodo's cloak, though. This is a beautiful, beautiful photo, but that was not the photo I was looking for. I was looking for the first picture we ever got of orcs, and this is what we were sent back in 2001. This is a completed shot you will recognize from Fellowship of the Ring, from Moria. That is the first orcs we ever saw. Do you remember the feeling of, like, what are the orcs going to look like, Cliff?
It was very, very exciting. Also, that early teaser that broke the internet, almost as bad as that Episode 1 Phantom Menace teaser broke the internet.
It was bigger than the Phantom Menace.
There was a unique couple of moments where a couple of...
No,
there was. That's funny. There was.
Yes, you're correct. There are way more Lord of the Rings fans than Star Wars fans on the internet. Thank you very much.
There may be actually some those who remember a couple of Moria orcs that got really close up to the camera. A couple of hero shots.
Yeah,
of
then
some Moria orcs that were like, and they came right into the frame.
In the trailer.
They ended up not being in the film at all.
So that was the first time we ever saw orcs in the marketing. But I came across this photo of, and I didn't know what I was looking at in the thumbnail. I had to double click to open. And Cliff, would you believe that was the first photo we ever got of Galadriel?
I am not surprised. It actually came out as a promotional image also in with the wall calendar. There was a 13-month...
I don't remember this shot in the movie.
It was in that New Line Cinema wall calendar that they printed and distributed to some of the fans and the websites.
Tegan in the chat room says, I remember that shot.
Yep, I do remember that.
So
shot.
This is the first time we ever saw Galadriel. You know, a lot of the questions that come up on social media, of course, is we get a lot of honest fans asking, has fandom always been this opinionated? Is the best, most polite way I can say it about things. And the answer is, since we've been around for 20 years, the answer is yes, because you're not going to believe this, Cliff. You're not going to believe this. But when this picture came out,
people had different opinions about it. I'm sure they did.
When this picture of Lady of Light Galadriel, this was the internet, not the whole internet reaction, but here was some of the message board chatter. At the bottom, number 8, Galadriel floats on some cheesy amusement park boat instead of large swan boat paddled by 2 elves.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Sorry, the logo is covering that. I'm going to read that again. Galadriel floats on some cheesy amusement
park boat instead of large swan boat paddled by 2 elves. This was someone with an opinion on the internet back in the year 2000. Wow. That's funny. Well, it's just to prove the point that you can't, prove.
Here's another one.
Early.
I have said right from the beginning that Galadriel was not what she should be. Kate Blanchett? Don't ask me from what gene pool PJ picked his elves from.
Whoa. That is from November 2001. That was right before the film
This
came
is
out.
right before the film came out. People had seen both trailers for Fellowship of the Ring.
Wow.
And some fans on the internet were saying, I've said right from the beginning that Galadriel was not what she should be. Let's move on.
That is a hot take.
Check it out.
Take.
Now that you mention it, Frodo is too young. Saruman has no color. Galadriel isn't nearly beautiful enough.
And
that is what the internet said in 2001.
Wow. And
Galadriel isn't nearly beautiful enough.
Well, you know what? It actually goes to prove that early marketing images cannot be all things to all people all the time. You can't get a slam dunk with early marketing images. You're always going to get these people who are reacting.
This photo elicited so much.
Funny.
So much. So to answer social media's question to the fans out there, one of the reasons that you guys have stuck with us for 20 years and we're still going on is because the debates have always been there. The debates have always been constant. And I will say, this is my personal view, the only difference now between now and then is that back then there was only one platform that everybody chatted on, and that was the message boards. And so moderators could moderate, and if someone said something that was really out of turn, we could put them on a ban, we could put them on a timeout, and we could delete their post. The difference now is with social media, I can't delete those posts. I can block those people from my Twitter profile, but they can still comment and quote tweet, and I can't delete that because it's someone else's account. So that's the only difference, is that we used to be able to keep the conversation healthy. It was still a dialogue of book lovers and movie lovers and fans willing to give it a shot and fans that wanted to complain about Galadriel not looking beautiful enough. But, we had a good time doing it. Yeah, it does sound ridiculous. Wasn't it ridiculous?
Hi there. Yes. It's really, really quite funny that the internet was the strange. We must have smelled the early warning signs way back then that the internet was going to be, this wild open frontier of people just, having the anonymity of hiding behind their keyboard and just saying things. But
Cliff, Stratos in the chat room wants to know, why delete people's comments?
Well, why would we delete some comments that are, those that are that are outrageously bigoted and racist, hostile, or
anti-gay,
negative,
anti-woman,
or attacking anyone for any reason.
Homophobic?
You don't need to attack anybody for any reason.
No.
So things that would be deleted would necessarily be things that are unwanted, hostile, negative, not immature, but I mean, you're allowed to have an immature opinion, but you're not allowed to immaturely behave in such a way that you threaten or attack other people or gatekeep. You know, if you're going to be, you can be any kind of fan that you want to be. That's fine. Enjoy your fandom in the way that you want to enjoy your fandom. That's generally the open-handed, egalitarian philosophy that we have here at theonering.net. But I'm just saying.
So we're open to the debate, we're very open to book lovers, and we're open to the lore discussions. But if you take it to bottom barrel bigotry, there's no room for that.
We're not going to create an ecosystem that harbors that kind of energy or makes people feel that way. So we're not going to do that. We have a very different ecosystem that we have here, and we're very proud of it. We've been working on it and evolving it as a community for a couple of decades.
It's just the big difference is the conversation's happening on platforms that we can't delete nasty comments. So when you go to Twitter and you go to Facebook and you see a bunch of nasty comments, that doesn't represent all of fandom. Those are just the loud, small group of loud people that we can't do what we used to do and moderate a healthy discussion, a healthy debate, I should say.
I think so. Now, what's funny is that I wanted to just point out the early fails. I think instead of looking at the attitude of people on the internet, I'm looking at the early fails of early marketing, because there was a press image of Kate Blanchett in that boat, and it wasn't a slam dunk for everybody. There were people on the internet who thought, you know, that's kind of wobbly. What the heck, you know?
Here's another photo.
But
this was another preview of what they were doing. And we're like, okay, that is some low-res video game quality stuff. And then they shot it on blue screen. All right, there's some George Lucas junk going on. But then they showed the finished piece. And this is what the difference is between what we got then and what we're getting now. Look at the context in this.
Indeed.
We're getting behind-the-scenes photos. We're getting early previs, and we're getting the final shot. And this is how it all looks together. And I think one of the biggest complaints from fans right now is that this piecemeal marketing from Amazon has been like, we don't know the context of anything. You know, it's like, that's a beautiful shot of, okay, there's you get to see some elves and some weapons, and wow, their stuff looks good. But then you see the final shot, you're like, oh my gosh, I get it. I know what they're doing now.
They were introducing us to a new software that they had developed called Massive. And they were quite proud of it. It was a new thing at the time because it had allowed individual AI-generated movements for tens of thousands of battlefield entities. All these little individual orcs were able to move freely and independently and actually still move in a way that looked in ways more photorealistic than they had achieved before. And Weta and the folks at the Weta Digital department were really quite proud of it. So it was interesting. But, you know, the early marketing, I think we're still fooling ourselves. If we're talking about Amazon Prime, this is still early marketing. It's not early anymore. It's not early anymore, dude. It's about to happen. San Diego Comic-Con is about to happen.
It's going to be huge.
And September 2nd is right around the corner. So we really are
Comic-Con.
We aren't no longer at the point. Thank you. We're no longer at the point of calling it early marketing. And I think that's interesting. We might want to get our handle on this. Are we really expecting the marketing engine, to rev up?
Yeah. I told you what to expect at Comic-Con.
Well, we do have a thing happening at Hall H, that's for sure.
You know, before we move on, because there's a lot of news that we haven't even touched yet. As I was going through these old photos, I found some. I downloaded some new photos. So you guys are gonna love. You know, let's do this. This is from our trip. You know, there's some people in the chat room that were on this London trip. If you look at that little river, that is the River Thames. That is a park.
How lovely.
And that is a bench under a tree on the left.
Where Professor Tolkien once sat.
I had no idea about this, but there is a little plaque on that bench that says, "In memory of J.R.R. Tolkien." This bench and two trees nearby representing Telperion and Laurelin were donated by the Tolkien Centenary Conference 1992.
Centenary.
Centenary.
That is so beautiful.
So Amazon put us on boats, and we floated down the River Thames to look at that. I didn't actually sit on the bench. I sat in a boat looking at the bench. That's me. That's Corey Olson. That's some wonderful people. Yep. So that's what Amazon did in London. But that's fun. But
that really is lovely. That's lovely. You can see how Professor Tolkien was inspired by the Middle England countryside and the landscape of Middle England and the Midlands. And near Salisbury, near Stonehenge, near Oxford, all those beautiful Midlands, farmlands, that is very much where the Shire came from in his imagination. It's really lovely.
Yeah.
And great photos. Thank you, Justin. That's very nice.
Yeah. So what's happening right now? Well, yesterday and today, as we speak, actors from Lord of the Rings, Nazanin Boniadi and Ismael Cruz Cordova, are in London right now doing some PR and marketing for this show. They're in London right now together, looking great. Also there is director J.A. Bayona, the director of the 2-part pilot for Rings of Power, which is rumored to possibly get a theatrical release. So this might be a 2-hour intro to this huge series directed by this man, J.A. Bayona, and his producing partner right there. So they are in London right now giving press interviews virtually and in person. Maybe they're watching the episodes. Maybe the actors are finally getting to see the final composite, as we just saw with the massive photo 20 years ago. Maybe they're getting to see the final countdown.
That would be very, very helpful to let them see, to let the cast and everybody see the results of all their hard work after a lot of that post-production. But, I have to admit to the audience, maybe we've buried the lead for about 33 minutes, longer than we should have. Maybe.
Well, then read the title, Cliff.
Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, will have female orcs. And why is this not surprising? Because we've been talking about this on our message boards for decades.
Wait, we have?
Yes, of course we have.
We have not. I have never said anything about female orcs.
Actually, if you'd like to, the people in Green Books, we used to write these wonderful scholarly articles and great conversations we had at the Green Books. Well, we had a Q&A section that was one of the most popular sections of the OneRing.net in the early days, and people asked us those questions about how could orcs multiply and breed and actually increase their actual population. And it is not the way they are depicted, climbing out of muddy gooey
but that wasn't an orc. That was an uruk.
Nobody climbs out of ugly.
That was just an uruk.
Gooey, muddy.
You telling me that's not lore accurate? You telling me Peter Jackson made that up?
We've had conversations 2 decades ago about female orcs, and just now this big headline is splashing it as if it's a brand new idea. Well, we've been talking about this for a very, very long time. So the answer is yes, they had female orcs, and they definitely had to do that because, well, that's how you had to feed and grow crops. You had to feed these orcs. You had to multiply them. You had to have mass populations of them. They had to have space to live. And then you had to put them to work as a slave labor force so they could go into the earth and the mountains and dig for iron and metals that could be used for weapons. And they had to raise beasts of burden and flocks, and they had to get the leather from these beasts to get leather armor and straps for all this stuff is, you connect all the dots and you can understand this is a causality.
Orcs did have culture. I agree with
causality.
You in the chat room. Orcs did have culture. I agree with you. Remember, but this is the second age orc. Remember, they have until the third age, which is like 2,000 or 3,000 years later, to be civilized enough to have menus. Remember, orcs do have menus in the cinematic universe.
That's quite funny.
So this is second age orcs. So Sauron has to cultivate a society that is so advanced that there are menus.
Yes, we need the orcs rom-com spin-off. Yes. Okay, that sounds fun.
This is exciting. Well, Cliff, we're bearing the lead. Let's show the orcs.
IGN got the scoop, and this is the scoop. These orcs have generated so much interest and energized conversation all across Tolkien fandom. Look at these guys. See how they run. I mean, wow. See how they run. Wow. Now, we have to talk some
That
details.
is not CG, folks. There's no way that's CG.
I'm really, really inspired. But we're talking about second age orcs that seem to have distinct qualities. And we're looking at their armor. We're looking at their head coverings. This looks like it's a skull, or it's formed from some kind of a bone structure or a skull. And look at the prosthetics. Look at the unbelievable latex makeup effects and the practical makeup. It is stunning. Absolutely stunning.
100% this is makeup.
Yeah, of course.
This is makeup, folks.
And it just makes such a difference.
Yeah.
It makes such a difference. Now,
I'm finally reminded when you said you were excited to see female orcs, all I could think of was Disney's Robin Hood when they're like, female bandits, what's next?
When Robin Hood?
remember when Prince John was like, female bandits?
Yes. Well, that's because
female orcs.
Robin Hood and Little John, yeah, they were dressed up as gypsies to steal, gold and jewels from the carriage of Prince John. I remember that.
Yeah.
I do remember that. Now, wait a minute. These guys, in this IGN article, they had this fascinating article, and they talked to the person who had been creating.
This is my favorite photo. Keep going.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, look at this. We're talking about iconography that can be determined by looking at the helmet.
Remember, text me if any of these photos made you more excited for Rings of Power. I've seen a lot of comments on our Facebook page that these orcs are the first time anyone's got excited for Rings of Power. This is the first time any of these releases have piqued some interest. So I want to hear it on the text message. Text me at this hotline.
That first orc. Go back to that first orc, because I think there's a scene where Arondir, he's played by Ismael Cruz Cordova, Arondir is probably being attacked by these guys, because in that scene where we saw him in the Super Bowl trailer, he captures an arrow in mid-flight, slings it back into his own bow, and sends the weapon back. And I think these trees in the background are the exact same location where that fight scene was shown.
Orc Fremen? Oh, we got some Dune fans in the chat room.
I love Dune too.
Yeah,
but
we got some video game fans. This if really any of these photos finally got you excited, tell me on the hotline and tell me exactly why this got you excited. Is it the scariness? Is it the unhuman nose? Is it the prosthetics? Is it all the above? If this is a CGI character, are you equally as excited? I want to know on the hotline. Again, we're going to read some of these at the end of the show. This is amazing.
It really is.
There's another one of those that first photo that you were talking about.
Yes.
Here's another photo of that same metal and armor. And we are excited. We are very, very excited to reveal to you today another photo that you saw. This looks amazing, but
I'm so stoked.
Here is the Torn exclusive. We're excited. That is an Instagram post from our pal at Weta Workshop, Jamie Bezwarek.
That means it is true. The rumors that Weta Workshop were involved in these orcs and involved in making these prosthetics and these weapons.
That is
true. It is true.
You will recognize Jamie.
It is true.
You will recognize Jamie from the appendices on the Lord of the Rings films.
Wow.
You will remember him from sculpting many of the things in the Hobbit movies. And I'm telling you, as a course of business and a legal protection, I promise you that no one from Weta would be posting work that they didn't work on. at this point in time.
This is very true, and I'm so excited to see that that's a confirmation of what a lot of people have been speculating about. On the IGN article, they didn't even confirm that much.
No.
They didn't. They had a really great conversation with Jamie Wilson, who is the head of the prosthetics department, and Lindsay Weber, executive producer on the series. And there is this conversation in here saying that we love orcs. We have a real passion for them. And we felt that they needed exploration given that this is the second age and thousands of years before the events of the third age. It's really important to them to treat them as their own culture and explore their world on its own two legs, in its own right. Now, this is intriguing. This confirms.
So does this change your opinion, guys, in the chat room? Are you more hyped now that these are prosthetic orcs from Weta Workshop?
I'm excited about that very much.
That's a Green Dragon gossip, by the way. I'm going to protect myself there. That's some Green Dragon gossip. We haven't had any confirmation that Weta is involved.
No, there has been no official press release and no official statements from Weta. But yes, because Jamie Bezwarek put that on his IG, that's about as much confirmation as you're going to need if you can connect the dots. Yeah, I'm definitely hyped about this, and I think it's cool in the best possible sense to see our friends at Weta working on orcs and orcish prosthetics. But if you
know what, I'm going to say it right here. You know what? I'm going to let's bring it up on screen, folks. That is a screenshot of a page on Weta Workshop's website that got deleted. That is an official confirmation from Weta Workshop itself that they have worked on Rings of Power.
That's official.
I am confident. I'm confident in telling you that Jamie Bezwarek, you just saw his work that you all loved in The Lord of the Rings from Peter Jackson. You just saw him post, and here's Weta Workshop confirmation. That is as slam dunk as you can get. Cliff, we have finally seen Weta Workshop prosthetics
back in Middle-earth.
Rings of Power.
Back in Middle-earth, and it's fantastic. It is a really, really good thing. And when you stop and think about it, what has everybody said? What was the first, when you read the barometer, the barometric pressure of all the fandom, what did you hear? I'll tell you what I heard.
There was two things that
tell you what I heard.
Fans mandated. One, Howard Shore.
Yes.
Two,
Weta
Workshop specifically.
Weta
Digital, we understand.
I'm telling you, our general response to these images of the orcs and the close-ups of their prosthetic makeup and their helmets and armor and weapons has been the single most positive response that we've gotten. You put Weta Workshop back in Middle-earth, and it is 100% the most single positive response out of any of the marketing that we've had so far.
That's the hotline. Text me if the news that we just confirmed for you right now that Weta Workshop, Jamie Bezwarek, and who knows who else have worked on and created these creatures. Text me if that is the most important thing. I want your good vibes. I want to see if that moves the needle for you. Does that get you hype?
The fan nostalgia is strong. They want Howard Shore and they want Weta, and that's why we're responding more favorably to this pre-release marketing than anything else that we've seen so far. However, there is also the conversation of that lifestyle piece that Amazon Prime put out. You know,
that's right. Before we get there,
get to that too.
Yes,
because that's also a piece of the marketing as well.
I got to temper the excitement, Cliff. Weta Workshop, prosthetic orcs, Jamie Bezwarek. Unfortunately, I'm sad to report that Weta Workshop has declined to come to Comic-Con this year. There's no Weta Workshop. Richard Taylor and the whole team are not coming to Comic-Con this year.
Make that sound you make when you lose a game on The Price is Right. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Weta Workshop's booth has always been one of the best booths.
Oh, very much so. I would agree.
Like they had a full-size dragon that breathes smoke. They had full-size trolls.
Full-size Lurts and Gandalfs. And
it has always been an iconic part of Comic-Con, and I'm really disappointed. But you know what? New Zealand has still been in lockdown up until just a couple days ago. Actually, no, it's still in lockdown. I think at the end of June, is when it opens up. So they just couldn't. They didn't have time to get everything here and
it would
travel
have been a lot of
forth.
shipping, and they couldn't get things shipped.
It's just
get to Comic-Con.
Pandemic is still affecting the things that we love the most.
Yes,
so
indeed.
we wish Weta well. We hope to see some streaming stuff, and I'm really bummed out, Cliff, that Weta will not be at Comic-Con on the 20th anniversary of Lord of the Rings. This is the year. This is the year that Weta should have been at Comic-Con selling me merch. This is the year that they should have been selling me Avatar merch.
Next summer?
I really wanted Avatar 2 merch.
Next summer. Next summer, right before we do the 20th anniversary of Return of the King, next summer, we'll be sure to have all of our friends from Weta and all of our Kiwi artist friends, the most talented people that we know on Earth, to actually come and join us for a wonderful showdown, a big party of special magnificence next summer at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And besides, people who didn't get in this year can actually line up their ducks in a row to get ready for next year's badges, okay?
And Varking is in the chat room spoiling it. Varking has confirmed in the chat room that he's coming to Comic-Con. Varking, I believe it's your first time ever.
It'll be very
exciting. And Lord of the Rings is bringing you to Comic-Con. I'm so excited. Cliff, we did a poll on Twitter. We asked, should orcs in Rings of Power have the same common tongue accent that Peter Jackson's orcs did in Lord of the Rings?
You mean that they all sounded like Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins?
What does he say? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da, Mary. I forget. What
oh, it's so lovely all the day with Mary. I mean, the fact that most of the orcs sounded like Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins. Oh, blimey, that would be lovely, mate. It would just be so lovely to have meat back on the menu, boys.
Stinky, maggoty bread.
Stand on top of the rooftops, and we're going to clean all the chimneys while we're at it.
Wait, you're telling me you did? You're telling me you didn't like that?
I'm sorry.
Hold on.
I love it. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. All of my good friends in the United Kingdom, please forgive me. Because I have many of you.
What about the legs?
What about their legs? They don't need those.
I thought that was great.
That's a good one.
I thought that was great.
So good.
Cliff, are you telling me? I did not know this until like today. Was there a controversy over those accents?
Controversy at the time?
Yeah.
I don't believe so.
No.
There was just a couple of jokes.
I just liked it.
There was a couple of internet jokes, obviously. But it's true, as The Dragon Demands has actually said, orcs debase every language they speak, no matter what. If they were attempting to speak...
So it's true to lore and true to Tolkien, maybe?
It's interesting that the black speech of Mordor was Sauron attempting to flip the middle finger to the elves in a linguistic sense. That's really interesting when you think about it, because he had no language. The elves had dominated everybody in the world with their own beautiful language, and so Sauron wanted to give them the middle finger, and so he wanted to create the black speech of Mordor, and it was supposed to be the most corrupted version of language, to be as the opposite of melodic and beautiful. It was supposed to be ugly and abrasive and real harsh.
I can tell you that I was surprised to see 24% vote on subtitled Orcish like they did in The Hobbit. I thought that was one of the worst choices made in the Hobbit movies. I appreciate and I like the Hobbit movies, but I did not like having to read the text under all of the and the orcs in the Hobbit had great big dialogue scenes. There were orcs talking to orcs and Bog talking to Azog, and they're not supposed to be alive at the same time, and time compression. I did not like the Orcish of the Hobbit. I wish they had Cockney accents, if that's what we're calling it. I wish they had it, and I did not know that people were offended or were displeased by Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings orcs all talking the same. I thought that was wonderful. I really did. I liked it, honestly.
You know what? You had that thing happen in a lot of Star Trek films where the Klingons were actually speaking in English or in Terran. If you're from Earth, you're from Terra. So you're Terran English Klingons. Then you jump into some other representations of Star Trek, and all the Klingons are subtitled with that fully invented languages, and they hired experts to come in and create a conlang.
I don't like subtitles.
Constructed
I don't
language.
like it.
So, we got it. It's a mixed bag. I don't know.
So, Cliff, do you remember your earliest spy reports that they were filming in multiple languages on the set?
I do remember those. Yes.
Do you think, just your opinion, we have no inside information yet. Do you think the orcs speak in a tongue that is unfamiliar to English audiences?
No, I would imagine that all of these orcs are going to speak regular common tongue, because I think that's going to avoid confusion, and maybe if they had a reason narratively, if they had a world-building reason to have the orcs speak their own language, but they wouldn't need to do that. Professor Tolkien, tells us enough. He tells us a little bit, a very little tiny paragraph in the Silmarillion about how the orcs were created by Morgoth all those many, many thousands of years ago.
Weren't they corrupted elves? Because I remember Saruman in the movies told us that the orcs were once elves.
It's true.
And they were corrupted.
It's true. That is the truth.
It is truth.
Christopher Lee spoke truth. But it's not like there are really detailed chapters about that at all. But
so these are corrupted elves.
Here,
I'm asking you right now: are these corrupted elves?
All of the orcs came from corrupted elves, but then when you get maybe a generation later, maybe not.
This
I don't know. I'm not a eugenicist. I'm not a necromancer combined with eugenicist, so I can only speculate very broadly.
This guy looks like a corrupted elf. I totally believe that this orc was once an elf. I totally believe that.
Yeah, actually, they're. I mean,
notice that they're eye to eye with elves.
There's
they're not afraid of elves.
You see, because the Silmarillion is told from the point of view of the elves, and I do see you, the dragon demands, and thank you, you're quite correct. We get this point of view of history from the elves, and the elves never went down into the horrifying torture pits of Autumno in the First Age to go and witness what happened to the original captive elves. But there's a big, big story tied up in there that there were lots and lots of elves who were supposed to migrate all the way over to Valinor, and they did not. Some of them were scared of the Valar, and they didn't want to even deal with the Valar, and they didn't want to go, and they are called the Avari. And there were many of those elves that were unfortunately captured by Melkor, and he did his own horrible work on them over centuries. And I don't know what happened, but if the TV showrunners are trying to connect the dots between what happened many, 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 many thousands of years ago in the First Age and what is happening to these Second Age orcs, the easiest way to do that is to look at what was the last huge climactic battle at the end of the Silmarillion, the big, big battle at the end of the Silmarillion, right before the First Age changes into the Second Age. Well, it's the War of Wrath, and some of those orcs didn't even have they didn't have a society. They didn't have a Dark Lord anymore. They didn't have anywhere to go anymore. After that big War of Wrath happened,
well, let me ask you this:
great communities of orcs that were stragglers with nobody to lead them, and I'm just speculating.
All right, I want you to speculate this. Cliff, take a look at that helm.
It looks elvish to me.
Does that?
That helmet looks elvish.
What
to
is
me.
that? What is your tell?
Other people.
What is your tell?
Nerd of the Rings and Nerd Cookies and other great intelligent people with greater minds than myself have speculated other ideas that that's an evil-looking symbol over the bridge of the nose and the temple above his eyes.
But why do you think that looks like an elf? Elfish.
I think there's something about it because it looks very similar to another helmet we saw in that earlier image. Do you have it? Yep. That's it. It looks very, very much like that helmet in that background behind this elf guy. Yep.
All right, so we know that it was cropped out, but we know that's Feanor.
Yes.
And he dies.
No, that's not Feanor.
No, isn't it?
No, isn't that Galadriel's brother?
What's his name?
Oh, wait a minute. Where's my brain check? Thingol. No, that's not Thingol. Wait. No, that's not what I meant to say.
Galadriel's brother is named Finrod.
I meant to say that.
Thank you to the chat room.
Thank you,
okay.
Finrod. Thank you, everybody.
Finrod.
Where's my brain check today? Thanks. It's Finrod Felligan.
All right, so if we get a flashback to Finrod, as I think we're getting, and we look at those first age elves, does this make sense in the lore, Cliff? If those elves are fighting alongside Finrod at the light of the two trees pre-first age, does it make sense to have them corrupted into the second age like that?
I don't know. That would
Were
be
Finrod's elves corrupted? Is there any notification? Is there any lore that confirms that Finrod's elves are the ones that are corrupted?
No. None whatsoever. No. There's no lore to indicate that at all. No. There's no specificity at all. Not even a whiff of that. Not even a tiny suggestion of that.
Okay.
However, if we're talking about some of the problematic things we're looking at with compression of time, if that flashback picture is way, way, way back to, a battle way before the War of Wrath.
It is.
That was at the end of the first age.
Yeah.
If that's a battle that Finrod is in, and it's way, 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 way earlier, then why would he still be wearing that same helmet? Why would he still be wearing that helmet? But look who he's talking to. Look in the foreground.
Elrond.
He's talking to Elrond. Is he actually speaking to our character,
eye to eye.
Elrond?
Eye to eye.
This is intriguing. Very intriguing.
Was it taken from a dead elf, or do you think that's his normal armor?
That might explain it. It might have been stolen from an elf he killed.
Well, look at the other helmets that these orcs are wearing. That is a totally different.
Yep. Yeah. Well, since our good friends at Weta were so involved in making these orc prosthetics and makeup and these helmets and things, working on the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings films, they built a language into every piece of weaponry, and every helmet and every piece of armor had very specific elements of the culture and the history of where it came from.
Oh,
that was in the design.
The chat room says that is Arondir. That is Ismael Cruz Cordova, my boy.
Oh,
and that hair. Yes, I will agree with that. That haircut.
So he's talking to Arondir, not Elrond. Okay.
He's talking to Arondir.
Okay.
And remember, we see Arondir chained up in the teaser trailer. There's a chain around his ankle as he's flying through the air in one of the final shots of the trailer. So they do capture Arondir. They do have him in an orc camp that you described as a concentration camp. We do know that orcs are corrupted elves, and there's a whole program about corrupting elves. So I think that Arondir, Ismael Cordova, is an elf that escapes halfway through his corruption.
Here is the one paragraph from J.R.R. Tolkien in The Silmarillion, page 50. But of those unhappy ones who were ensnared by Melkor, little is known of a certainty. For who of the living has descended into the pits of Autumno, or has explored the darkness of the councils of Melkor? Yet this is held true by the wise of Erisea, that all those of the Quendi who came into the hands of Melkor ere Autumno was broken were put there in prison, and by slow arts of cruelty were corrupted and enslaved. And thus did Melkor breed the hideous race of the orcs, in envy and mockery of the elves, of whom they were afterwards the bitterest foes. For the orcs had life and multiplied after the manner of the children of Iluvatar, and naught that had life of its own, nor even the semblance of life, could ever Melkor make, since his rebellion in the Ainulin Dale before the beginning. So say the wise. And deep in their dark hearts the orcs loathed the master for whom they served in fear, the maker only of their misery. This, it may be, was the vilest deed of Melkor, and the most hateful to Iluvatar. So, bam, that's it. That's the only paragraph that Tolkien says about how orcs were created. And
wait, and in that paragraph, you said something about Melkor could not create.
Mm-hmm. So that's why he took the elves and over many,
Wait, is
many
that where
ages,
that stupid little meme quote comes from? Evil cannot create, only corrupt?
Yes. And that there's another version of that in another spot in the Silmarillion.
Huh.
It's an actual quote in the Silmarillion, yes.
Interesting.
And yeah, it's been weaponized
Do you think...
in casual conversation, which is ridiculous.
Two-part question
Ridiculous.
for you, Cliff. Do you think we will see the corruption, Melkor's corruption of elves into orcs, even in a flashback or in a prologue? And secondly, yes or no, right or wrong, yes or no, do you want to see that?
I don't know. I really don't know, but it would provide a helpful course correction because everything that Peter Jackson showed us with the way that Uruk-hai were bred in the pits of the mud, that's not true. That's not even canon. That couldn't even,
I like that, though.
but it's not true.
Whom do you serve?
We all love that.
Saruman.
We all love that. But you know that book that was just released, The Nature of Middle-earth?
Yes.
That has many, many chapters about the process of elves living lives and having long pregnancies and having long romantic relationships.
Well, Vonatar mentions Morgoth. You said Melkor.
Melkor is his name, and Morgoth was the name given to him after he destroyed the trees and took the Silmarils. Morgoth was a name given to him, I believe, by Feanor.
And if you read the IGN article that debuted today with the orc photos, in the interview they explain that the orcs in Rings of Power are coming out of a lost age, and they are leaderless and they are rudderless, and they are looking for leadership, and they're kind of what's the word? Not feral, but it's the orcs are kind of lost. And they've been lost for a long time.
Yes.
So
that's funny. Welcome to Tolkien's world where one character has 50 different names. That's right. That's true. Thank you for saying that. That's very cute. I don't know if we need to see this process of how, it would really be maybe a little bit weird and maybe a little bit problematic to show how elves were tortured over a long, long era of time to become evil orcs. It's enough to have Professor Tolkien just vaguely reference it in the book. It is completely different, I think. And leaving that mystery to the back of your mind is way more helpful, I think, instead of having it right there, explained to you. But now, I don't know. We have one more piece of interesting marketing that had just come across the airwaves.
That just came out.
And here it is. Are we going to take a quick look at it?
Yeah, I don't want to get copy claimed or whatever, but you can see that it's a lifestyle thing. This isn't even an ad for Lord of the Rings necessarily. It is a video, just a lifestyle video of like a day in the life of a geek.
It's called a lifestyle ad, but it's like
I'm calling it a lifestyle ad because that's what we call it in the biz. Like that. Oh, that's interesting. He's reading a book under a tent because he's failed at sports, and it's
a feel-good bit about a little boy who falls in love with reading the Lord of the Rings.
Is that an Ent? Wait, hold on.
Yeah, so there's Ents. There's a Treebeard Ent character in the window, and we're actually.
Do you think? Does that mean Ents are in the show? Cliff, do you think?
That does not mean any of the above. I love the wild speculation that's been going on, but no, that does not mean that there are.
Why
Ents
don't you
in the
think?
show.
Do you think they would have do you think they would actually put a talking tree in a commercial for Rings of Power without having the rights?
I think that they
to Ents.
I think that they have rights to Ents. Obviously, they made a bloody commercial. They have the rights to the Ents.
They have rights to Ents.
Okay.
First off, let's get that out of the way.
They do have the rights
Amazon
to
can
these
make
characters.
Stories about Ents.
I tell you what, why would you, as a person, create a disconnected lifestyle video that doesn't even show elements of your own TV series and tease characters that you're never, ever, ever going to introduce in the series? Why would you do that? So one part of you, in my mind, is logically thinking, wow, there are Ents, and they have the license to some of these characters from Tolkien that might even include a conversation about how the Ents were awakened by the elves and how the trees were taught language and given the gift of mobility. All these interesting things.
When does it happen? Does that happen in the Second Age?
It is not in the Second Age. I think it was.
First age? Pre-first age?
It's alluded to as being in the Elder Days.
Elder Days. So that's loose.
It's very loosely alluded to. But I wonder.
Do you think this is an Ent from the show?
That's actually funny because where I'm standing right now, it looks like my head is in the window right over my. That's actually.
I'm telling you, they wouldn't put Ents in this ad if it like. What's that quote? Your ego's writing checks your body can't cash. Amazon would not be putting an Ent in a commercial for the show if they're not going to deliver some Ents in the show. Of course, I will say this, in a show that's called Rings of Power, we have yet to see any rings. Are you going to have rings in your Rings of Power?
Are we going to have rings in the Rings of Power at all? Well...
the interesting thing, Cliff, is I was trying to find illustrations of Treebeard and Ents, and there aren't many. In fact, Tolkien scholar and artist Joel Merrimer confirmed to us that Treebeard and the Ents are the least drawn characters in Lord of the Rings. Most artists have not drawn Treebeard. And
actually,
so
I have seen so many great retro 70s artists and painters from the 1980s who've always put Treebeard in their Tolkien calendars.
I don't believe it.
Maybe.
So I looked up some photos, some art of the brothers Hildebrand.
I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just trying to finish a sentence without my face being covered up. I'm actually just trying to say that there are lots and lots and lots of Treebeard images.
Prove it.
But maybe statistically,
I spent hours looking for it.
Maybe statistically there
Cliff
are less.
right now is promising you
Maybe.
that tomorrow on Twitter he's going to post a thread of all of the beautiful Ent artwork that supposedly exists in the world, because I can't find it.
I have to say, I'm excited by this presence of this Ent character. I'm really excited by this presence, but I don't really know if it's any guarantee that the writers are going to bother to do that, because honestly, as one of our fans pointed out in the chat, Professor Tolkien tells us that the Ents were awakened way, way, way before the First Age.
That has nothing to do with artwork. Lincoln in the chat room says, I met Alan Lee and he drew Treebeard. Okay, so there is artwork, but it's hard to find artwork of Treebeard. I don't know why people have not
There was
drawn it like all the other characters.
Back in the early days of the internet, there used to be a Rolotso Tolkien website, and it was an artist index.
Yes.
It was a fantastic database, and you could find every artist by name, and it would link you to all of their online versions of their Tolkien paintings and illustrations. It was really a great index. It's too bad it doesn't exist anymore.
Before we move
really
on
cool.
from Ents, Cliff, I want to ask you, your name is QuickBeam2000 on the internet. You love Ents.
Always.
But let me ask you this. The Rings of Power, a TV show, has stories, has storylines with elves and Numenor and men and Harfoots and dwarves
yes.
and orcses.
Yes.
Do you think there's room for Ents in this show, or will Ents just show up occasionally, like one episode per season?
There are definitely room for Ents in this series. Absolutely there's room for Ents. But if you're going to show a flashback, I hope that people know that if the flashbacks are going to go way, way, way back in time to when they were awakened, if they're going to happen right now, the modern conversation about deforestation and the destruction of the environment might be topical to the Second Age, as it is very topical to us now, because it is written that the Numenorians did mass deforestation of the wooded areas of Eregion and the areas around Middle-earth, because they really...
This is why no one liked Numenor.
No. They had... a lot of people have a different relationship with the Numenorians, good and bad. Some people loved them, some people didn't.
Interesting you haven't mentioned Entwives.
The Entwives might actually show up. Maybe they'll have...
Is that important to you?
Maybe they'll have an allusion to that.
They're not important to you, though.
I didn't say that they were not important to me.
I'm asking.
Oh, hold on. Well, don't put words in my mouth and say that I said that they were not important to me. I never said that at all. I'm just a little bit distracted because I was trying to collect my last thought and put a button on it. the idea of Ents being in the show is a wild card. It really doesn't have anything to do with the Rings of Power. It doesn't have anything to do with those stories that they licensed for the Second Age, and they're not even mentioned in the appendix. They're not in the appendices that we're talking about in these concerns. But having them included in the show would be fan service. It would be wonderful, and I would be very happy to have that. But that's funny. I really don't want to. I don't want to speculate too much on that. I wonder.
We've got more speculation from this trailer, and if you guys caught it, I think I pointed it out while we were watching it. When he's reading Lord of the Rings under his bed sheet, that kid had. There's some artwork being projected on the sheet. And Eagle-Eye Matt from Nerd of the Rings.
I'm so glad he talked about that and discovered it.
Eagle-Eye Matt was like, I recognize that. And he sure did. That is the artwork. And can you, I don't know how to pronounce that. Boom.
It's something that many of us are challenged to pronounce. It is the Dagor Ninareth Arnoediad. The Battle of Unnumbered Tears. And it's pretty big stuff. And it's really cool.
And if you look at that axe,
that's John Howe's illustration. By the way, what you're looking at is from John Howe's published book. It's really cool. Really cool
so
stuff.
So if you look at that that dwarf with an axe, you can let's see if we can zoom in on this. It's one of these dwarves right here.
Here it is.
It's one of these dwarves right here. So that is Eagle-Eyed Matt. So that's super exciting. What do you got there?
Unnumbered. Well, this is just a quick reference to the Complete Guide to Middle-earth, which is Robert Foster's book. Okay. Nerneath Arneodiad, the fifth and the most disastrous of the battles of the Wars of Beleriand, fought on Ainfauglith in the summer of First Age 473 between the forces of Morgoth, led by Gothmog and Glaurung. And the union.
That's Glaurung?
Yeah, that is Glaurung, the dragon. And the Union of Maethros. The campaign began when Morgoth marched against the western army of the Union, commanded by Fingon. Oh boy, this is really good detailed. And it's all in the Silmarillion, so it's really cool. More callbacks to First Age Silmarillion specific things. Even though
Do you think we're going to see it though?
No, maybe in weird flashbacks. But it's all about teasing us with the First Age stuff. That's what's interesting.
Huh.
They've made us a show about the Second Age of Middle-earth, but a lot of their marketing is teasing us with First Age stuff that they may not necessarily have the license to. So, I don't know. But I think it's the fan reaction to that video is something else I want to talk about before we leave the subject.
Yeah.
People have responded to it very positively.
Okay.
And a lot of people have said, I would have liked this series a hell of a lot more if that had been the first piece of marketing that I had seen. You know?
Really?
Yeah, I've heard a lot
You
of
actually
that.
heard that?
I heard a lot of people responding very positively to that, saying, I wish I had seen this before I saw the Super Bowl ad.
Why?
I don't know why. Because instead of giving you all these teases of the TV series, it's actually talking about the literacy of Tolkien and what happens to the young mind who picks up Tolkien and is absorbed into his books and into his world. That's really what it's about.
I saw Tea with Tolkien said, why am I crying after watching this ad? It brought a lot of people back to the first time that they had ever picked up the book.
You know, what I find bothersome, what bothers me about it, is that you don't see J.R.R. Tolkien's name anywhere in the ad. Although it is specifically about, it's about Tolkien. The ad is a lot less about their TV series, and it's a lot more about the effect of literacy and the effect of the literature. And my only problem with it, although I did really appreciate it, I think it's a really good spot, but my problem with it is that I don't see J.R.R. Tolkien's name anywhere in it. Anywhere.
Interesting.
But it is about that. It is obviously about...
I want to rewind to this, Cliff.
The energy.
Is this confirmation... Is this confirmation of our rumors that this pilot is going to get a theatrical release?
Yes. Yeah, that is confirmation. Look at that video, right?
Okay, so let me ask. So
that's confirmation. That looks like they're gonna really have a.
Wait, if that's confirmation, why isn't the Ent confirmation of Ents?
It could be. Who knows?
And why isn't that sheet?
Look, I already
confirmation of Glaurung?
I already said it would be unnecessary for second age storytelling, but it would be great to have the Ents. Did you hear my answer? My answer was great. I'm happy.
Your words go through my ears and way over there.
Very happy to have the Ents on the show, although
do you want Glaurung?
They're not. No, I do not want to see Glaurung in a second age series. No, I do not want to see.
You're seeing the two trees.
No.
You saw the two trees in the first photo that they released.
Oh, okay. You're talking about
going
flashbacks.
Back.
Okay, all right.
Do you want to see Glaurung?
In a flashback? Yes.
Okay.
Yes, in a flashback,
the
that'd be
dragon
fine.
demands a dragon.
Okay.
Of course you do, dragon.
Well, I think it would be really great fan service to have the Entwives and the Ents in a full forward presence in the TV series. That would be so cool. It would be really great. And I agree with the Dragon Demands and other people in our fandom who've speculated equally that the conversation about...
Do you want to see Glaurung die?
That the conversation about deforestation is one that we really should be examining in our popular culture as much as we're examining it in our primary world and the effects that we are having on our environment industrially and personally. I think it'd be a great conversation to have.
Sounds woke. Cliff, this is breaking news.
Sure.
The Tolkien estate has announced a new edition coming out this fall. The Fall of Numenor by J.R.R. Tolkien. Cliff, but what is that name under Tolkien? This says edited by Brian Sibley.
Edited by our good friend and constant companion of the OneRing.net, Brian Sibley, who we've interviewed so many times, and he's been such a very gentle...
Wait, is this the first time that not a non-Tolkien person, a family member, has edited Tolkien's books?
It would be the second time.
Second time.
Carl Hostetter was the editor of the last book that just came out.
But that wasn't a story. That was Carl Hostetter just put together some notes from some. He did. This isn't a full story. What can this book offer, Cliff, that we haven't seen before? Does a different editor, Brian Sibley, introduce an opportunity for a different type of story?
It's really quite possible. I'm afraid that I haven't read anything of the press release from this book. I have read nothing about it.
This just leaked today on an Amazon page.
Oh, wow.
Illustrations by Alan Lee. Do you think the Tolkien estate is putting this out this fall, right after Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, for a reason?
I think that they're going to put everything that they can out associated with Tolkien to cash in on all the energy, synergistically speaking.
Okay.
That is obvious that they're going to do that, yes. And I hope to see that Professor Tolkien's books actually do increase in sales. I really am looking forward to that. That's going to be a great thing when that happens.
Amazon has the book for pre-order with a release date of October 4th, so just after this TV series completes, or right at the end. New book is called The Fall of Numenor, which will compile all of Tolkien's Second Age writings into a single narrative.
This will be very exciting, and it will help.
Hasn't that ever been done, Cliff?
Well, no. When you read the Silmarillion, it jumps forward in time and back and forward. And
so there's never been one book that I can just pick up and read about the Second Age?
Well, look, based upon that brief sentence that you just said, It sounds like they're going to put things together in a chronological order. Hey, remember when they re-released a big Witcher thing? And
no.
It's like, well, when Witcher Season 2 appeared, they did like a 10-minute piece that said, this is Witcher in chronological order, so that you can re-see it again and not be confused because it jumped back and forth and back and forth. So maybe that would be a useful thing for Brian Sibley to have done.
This is a big deal,
tell
folks.
The story of Numenor. Maybe that would be great.
This is a big deal that edited by Brian Sibley.
I like that idea.
This is the first time in history, in 80 years, that the Tolkien family has allowed someone outside the family to edit J.R.R. Tolkien.
Well, Brian Sibley is a Tolkien scholar in his own right. Brian Sibley has actually worked.
Oh yeah,
worked with the BBC.
He is one of the top. He sits alongside Tom Shippey.
Yes, he does.
And Carl Hostetter.
That's why we've interviewed him for our website.
And Brian Sibley has been a friend, and he is one of the leading scholars of Tolkien. I'm not debating his qualifications. I'm saying it is significant that the Tolkien estate and the Tolkien family is choosing to republish Tolkien with new editors. This is huge, Cliff.
Well, it's not that huge because it's Brian Sibley. I think that the news would be more seismic and crazy if it was somebody unfamiliar with us. But it's Brian Sibley. This is exactly the person, one of the small number of people on Earth who should be sitting in an editor's chair in that position.
Huh.
Yeah, so I think it's cool. I think it's pretty cool.
Let me ask you this.
That's my reaction to it anyways.
You've published 2 books, The People's Guide to J.R.R. Tolkien. You produced Ringer's Lord of the Franz, an award-winning documentary. You've done so much in the fandom. If you had the opportunity to re-edit any of Tolkien's stories, and it was J.R.R. Tolkien edited by Clifford Broadway, what would that story be?
Re-edited to put it together? No, I can't imagine. No, I have no such ambitions, and I could not even hypothetically think about that. I mean, to my beautiful audience that's out there, let me present the question
I'm asking you.
No,
I'm asking you. You're the one that's qualified as a Tolkien expert.
No.
You've published books, made award-winning films, and you've been a contributor to the OneRing.net for 20 years.
Yes, I have.
So, as you're the expert, what story do you want to tell?
Actually, the story that I would want to tell. That's a separate question from what you asked me.
Okay, go to the original question.
If I could be an editor and I could edit together some of Professor Tolkien's manuscripts and some of his material storytelling, I would like to edit together something that tells more about the Blue Wizards. I would really, really like to take a deep dive into any little scribbles or any tiny notes, any manuscript that Professor Tolkien would have left behind that tells us anything about his later life ideas. Not the earliest ideas, but when Tolkien had a later revisitation with these 2 characters and thought again about what role they might play in the larger histories. I mean,
people in the chat room want to do Fall of Gondolin.
Edit that kind of thing together.
Some people want to do Beren and Luthien. The chat room has been so wonderful. And again, this is a big breaking news that just happened today.
That's really exciting.
J.R. Tolkien edited the first novelization ever edited by someone outside of the Tolkien family. This is nothing but good news, and I'm so excited. And we'll have on a couple future episodes, we'll be talking about the latest news from Leith McPherson, who is the who was the dialect coach on Rings of Power, and we've got so much other breaking news that will be happening in the next couple weeks.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, Comic-Con's going to be big.
It is.
It's going to be Comic-Con. It's going to be Rings of Power big.
San Diego Comic-Con is going to be really wild, and I hope that we get a chance to broadcast at any time while we're down there in San Diego. And look at that. Yeah. Let's show everybody at home one more time. How cool is that?
If you are going to Comic-Con, you will have a badge that looks like this. 200,000 people are going to have a Rings of Power Comic-Con badge. It's been about 7 years since The Walking Dead has taken over Comic-Con badges. I'm so glad The Walking Dead is no longer the badge of choice for Comic-Con. Amazon is putting their money where their mouth is. Again, $1 billion show, $1 billion marketing. This is the biggest TV show ever, and they're going to spend it at Comic-Con. I promise you. We don't have any money as the One Ring, so we're just going to be there to have fun and do what we do best and look for some announcements with Varking, with Nerd of the Rings, and some other awesome people. Cliff, this is so much good news this week. Final question for you, Cliff. Has your enthusiasm for the show, where was it a week ago, and where is it now? Scale 1 to 10.
On a scale of 1 to 10?
1 to 10.
Oh, really? Well, I think my enthusiasm was somewhere around a 6, maybe. But now that I've seen Weta prosthetics and Weta orcs
confirmed,
and Weta helmets and crazy-looking orcs, I'm tipping the scale to a higher number, and I think I'm very intrigued. I'm very intrigued by how everybody else is responding. I think it's kind of fascinating that these two major components that we talked about today, the lifestyle video and the release on IGN of all those orcs and their prosthetics makeup, so cool. I think those are the two biggest positive responses that most of the fandom has had to any of the marketing so far.
It's what everybody
so far.
Day one, we said confirm Howard Shore. Number two, confirm Weta Workshop, and here we are. We're finally getting confirmation on some of this stuff, and we're excited to see this sword. Maybe they'll have this sword hilt available in person. That would be really exciting. People in the chat room are like, wait,
my gosh.
is Nerd of the Rings going to be on a panel? I'm not going to tell you everything that we're going to do, but I'm going to tell you right now that this is the hotline on the screen right now. That goes right to my phone, and if Cliff installs the app, it'll go to his phone too. We've gotten so many text messages, people telling me what has got them excited about Rings of Power. I'm going to read some of them. Guys, I've got hundreds of text messages here, guys.
You have to give somebody a winner. Someone's a winner, so
I will text you back. I will text you back on the one I like most. I will text you back. I don't know if I want to announce it.
So there was one other person in the chat who had asked me what is another story that I would like to tell, and I'm never going to do this myself, but I would wish that Professor Tolkien had told us about what happened to the Entwives, and I'm glad you mentioned it earlier in the show, Justin, but the missing Entwives and the whole story about how the Ents lost track of their beautiful counterparts. And I just think that's a really cool, it's a sad story, but I'm very intrigued by it. All right, I'm going to read. I've always wanted to know more about that. Yes.
I'm going to read some of these. A text message says, knowing that Weta is this much involved has me ecstatic. The orcs look amazing.
Oh, whoa. Treebeard states that the Ents were roused against Sauron in the days of the Sea Kings in the Two Towers. He mentions that in the Two Towers? Oh, how cool. Oh, wow. And when he mentions the Sea Kings, that's a Numenorian reference. That is definitely a Numenorian reference.
Caitlin Griffin says, yes, Weta absolutely 100% needs to have worked on this show. Absolutely. The tower photo looked epic. I believe you sent that last week. And the Fremen orc needs to stick. Are we going to start calling these Fremen orcs?
That was kind of like this Fremen outfit with all the hood and the fabric, and he looked a little bit like Moon Knight. That one orc had a little Moon Knight flair around him. I'm not lying. He kind of did.
Justin, the orcs absolutely excited me about Rings of Power. It says they stay true to the looks of the orcs that we've come to know and love. Quote, love. I don't know if you can love an orc. The Hobbit movies showed how not to do orcs. It just shows how much the showrunners know and understand what we like. Weta Workshop just retweeted Nerd of the Rings. Shout out, man, this show is getting derailed by Nerd of the Rings. Definitely looks like practical silicone prosthetics, and wonderful that our fam at Weta are doing it. I have hope. Here's another one. First time, long time. Even hearing about it, I got excited. And we got to see the hands and the little teasers of the characters. But when I got excited, when I first got excited was with the little teasers of the character hands.
Okay.
But now with the pictures of the orcs, I'm even more excited.
Let me ask you this, Justin. Would you have rather them release these two pieces of marketing with the orcs and the kid who learns how to read Lord of the Rings and loves it? Would you rather have seen those first before the character posters?
I just wanted context. Yes. Just give us Weta and let us calm the hell down.
Okay.
Let's see.
Thank you.
Today's orc images were so good.
That's true.
Were so good. Like the title trailer that you were on set for.
Yes.
I thought that there was some CGI used. I'm excited to see these 6K cameras in action. I bet Amazon will stream this show in 8K before the end. That I need to upgrade my internet if I'm going to watch in 8K. I am excited for this TV series because Lord of the Rings is my favorite movie series of all time. We got another text. I've been hyped for this show the whole time, but every bit that is released has just upped the anticipation. The orcs are ridiculously amazing, but I've loved the hobbits, elves, dwarves so far as well. Most of all, thanks for all you do, because I've seen you guys be the butt of entirely unjustified criticism, and it ain't cool. I agree. Again, if we go back, let's show this again. Let's go back to Galadriel. That was the first picture of Galadriel ever released in 2001. You know what the fan reaction was in 2001?
Skepticism.
Galadriel was not what she should be. Kate Blanchett? ? Don't ask me what gene pool PJ picked from. Look at this. Galadriel isn't nearly beautiful enough.
Wow.
Fans in 2001 saying...
I can't believe anybody said that 22 years ago.
Kate Blanchett. So, you know what? The internet has always been the internet.
I guess so.
Oh, we got Leah Maria from Virginia says, I'm so excited about the new Tolkien book coming out in November. Perfect timing with the show. We got, it's Tukish, Comic-Con or bust. I guess we're going to confirm right here at the end of the show that Tukish, our moderator and long-term member of the OneRing.net staff member, will be at Comic-Con with us, and he's just texted. So you can text the hotline at the numbers on the screen. That's really my phone number, 530-64-FRODO. That's really my phone number. You can text me. I'm going to keep reading these positive vibes, positive texts.
They're really nice. That's so great that everybody participated. Thank you for sending us a message.
And if I like one,
that's really cool.
I'm going to text you back. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can, after the fact, after we're live, you can still send us text messages.
And also Garfemau will also be joining us at Comic-Con as well.
Garf in the chat room.
Hello, Garf.
We've got so many announcements for Comic-Con to come up. I'm just waiting on confirmations on some things that we want to do before I get you excited. But, Cliff, I'm excited that you're here.
Thank you kindly.
You will be there, yes?
I will definitely be at Comic-Con on every day and every night for the entire experience. It's going to be amazing. But I have to say, in terms of where Amazon has to position itself, and they have to position the series in a way, San Diego Comic-Con is their last big chance. It's their last big chance to get everybody talking about it.
To get us on board.
To get everybody on board who is not already aware of it and not on board yet.
Well, here's the thing. Comic-Con is for geeks and nerds, and we're the ones that want to love this show the most.
Comic-Con has also been taken over by all the world media. And every press outlet,
Amazon is the biggest company in the history of the world. Like they got to go big.
Yeah, they do have to go big.
So
we're in agreement.
They haven't announced anything except they're going to be at Hall H. They haven't said who's going to come. I have some thoughts on that. I have some thoughts on who they should bring to Comic-Con and who I would like to be in the room with. So
that's funny, LOTR. It is the last chance to get everyone Tolkien about it. Yes.
And that's Torn Tuesday. We're the OneRing.net, the longest running Tolkien community on the internet. Been doing this 22 years. We're going to Comic-Con soon. Cliff, thank you for a wonderful show.
Yes, sir. Thank you for helping us put together. Justin, thank you.
Oh, my God.
Very, very much, Justin.
He just called me the wrong name.
And I appreciate, in my effort to acknowledge you, I just made it 10 times sweeter. Thank you, Justin, for putting together the show and helping to block my face with the picture-in-picture. It was great. Wonderful show today. Thanks, everybody. And I got to admit, if there are Ents in the show, I'm going to love it. I'll be very, very happy. But what I want to see more than anything is Patrick McKay and J.D. Payne come on our show and sit down right here at the bar at Scum and Villainy Cantina so we can actually have a conversation and talk about Ents and Orcs and Goblins and all kinds of fun things. Let's do it.
And go to find us on Discord. Search for The One Ring on Discord or the discord.gg/The One Ring because people have created GIFs and stuff in there. And everyone's doing the Cliff code, which is your cue, Cliff.
I guess it's time to say goodnight. I want to say, everybody, thank you for joining us again. It's been a really lively and energized show here at theonering.net. We got more news and gossip to cover next week about the Rings of Power and about all things in J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth and even beyond into the world of Arda and all the places beyond the lamps of heaven. We're going to talk about all these great things. Guess what happened? A beautiful show just happened. If you missed it, watch us on the YouTube archive, and you can watch us again live next week, Tuesday at 5 p.m., right here, Pacific time, on theonering.net. We'll be back again for Torn Tuesday. So until then, take good care of yourselves, everybody. Be gentle with yourselves. Have a great night. As usual, I'll see you next Tuesday. Good night and good luck. Or better yet, buenos noches y buena suerte. Bye, everybody.